This morning I came for those that are in the struggle, those that possibly are struggling with addiction. You're struggling maybe with the lust spirit. I come for the unclean today. I know what it means to be that, and I know what it means for God to actually bring you out. But God gave me a revelation in this word, and today as I present it to you, I want you to be open to what God wants to do to you and with you this morning, because God wants you to be delivered. Many of us, we feel like, if we preach against sin, that it's, we don't want to go to that church because they preach against sin, but it's not about sin. What it is that the enemy is trying to sabotage your life. And so as we begin to talk about it, we're going to point out some things, and I'm going to show you how the enemy has been trying to destroy you from the time you were born. We know how to come in church. We know the religious thing to do. If you were like me, I started going to church at 16. So, when the preacher preached and when the organ played, you knew it was time to stand up because you knew the hooping was getting ready to happen, right? Y'all know my Baptist folks. Raise your hand. There you go, Pastor Chris. Yeah, we know what it is to be Baptist. I ain't got nothing against the Baptists. They helped me get into the word, but we knew how to be religious. And in this journey, I say over this past year, I had to go through a transition, and I found out something about maybe 6 months ago. God told me I was real religious. That, I knew how to have church, but I didn't know how to be the church. And so what ended up happening was I was so religious that I allowed this sabotage spirit to come into my life and separate me for a season for my purpose that God has. He knows that you got purpose in your life, and he knows that you got different things that God wants to do for you, but the enemy is waiting to discredit you. And so when we preach against sin, it has nothing to do with, no, don't just go sin. No, you are sabotaging your life. Because the enemy is saying, listen, if I could just stop them, if I could block them from what God wants to do in their life. John 10:10 says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. Jesus says, but I have come that you might have life and have that to the full. And so what happens is, at that time, the enemy places or tries to place a spirit on your family line. And so this spirit is seeking out to destroy you all through your childhood. That's why some of you can think about some things that happened in your childhood or happened while you were teenagers or into your adulthood, and it almost took you out. But God had a different together for your good. Life. Now, I want to pray, as we go through this process, because I want to talk about the spirit of sabotage. The spirit of sabotage operates as a strong demonic influence to abort the success and progress of the divine ordained purpose of relationships, organizations, and projects. As we go through this process, it influences the works through a person's mindsets within the regions of their soul. So what happens is the fight is not out here. The fight is between your ears. And so your mindset is messed up because you thinking, well, they don't like me, but it has nothing to do with them not liking you. It's all in your mind. So your perspective becomes, they don't like me, and oh my goodness, I can't believe Crystal looking at me like that. She don't like me. And so we get this perception that don't nobody like me. And God really had you set up. He wants you to be a people person to preach to the nations. But if he can stop you and make you think don't nobody like you, now your purpose is aborted. This man was at the gate begging for alms. And this is what we do. We come into the church, don't realize the power we got, and we like this man. And this is the thing about begging for alms. At that time, it was a religious thing to do, because the people that gave to him was fulfilling the law. You coming to church, you fulfilling the law. Oh, I don't see nothing wrong with just having a little sex every now and again. Begging for alms. Oh, I just blow a blunt every now and again. You're begging for alms. God has more for you than you being in a beggar mentality. And this is what's happening.